we're using up some of our I'll talk to you later. We're live. I always do that. I'm like, are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? We're ready. Oh my gosh, what a fun day. This is going to be so fun. I have a very special guest. I'm going to pin both of us. Hopefully you can see us at the same time that way. I see us at the same time that way, but I hope you do. So fun. Well, good morning, good afternoon to most of you on the East Coast, or good evening to those of you who are on the other side of the pond. We just bless you, bless you. I'm Charli. And I have a special guest today, Rebecca, we're just going to share a little bit today with you. I'm going to just jump right in and read Rebecca's bio because I couldn't say it better than it's already written. So I'm just going to kind of tell you, the reason I asked Rebecca to come in is because she reached out to me. We formed a connection. I feel like we're already sisters from the same mister. I'm really excited about the Father knitting our hearts together and what he's going to be doing with us together, because I feel like it was a divine connection. So those of you who don't know Rebecca Cruz is the owner of Audience of One Creations. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell you about this. And she's author of the book, Awesomely Distinguished. And this is such a great book. It's a 40-week journey of blessings for mother and child. And it's published both in English and in Spanish. Awesomely Distinguished is a unique journal that gives the mommy-to-be and her baby the opportunity to bond not only with each other week to week, but with God as well. And each week focuses on a character trait that the mother could like. She can pray it over and promote in her child. There's information regarding the baby's physical growth week to week. I mean, it's better than what to expect when you're expecting. Additionally, a wonderful section of the book focuses on the attributes of God's character. And this provides a way for a mother to introduce these aspects of God's character to her child and to just give it the best beginning as possible. Awesomely Distinguished is available. We're going to talk about how you can get a hold of it. You know, she also just published her next project, which, because there were so many women saying, I mean, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth when she showed me Awesomely Distinguished, right, Rebecca? The first thing out of my mouth was, I want one for me. I want to pray that over myself, over my big kids, over my grandkids. And so she actually came out with a book, and it's a series that she's putting out. And the first book is out, and it's a devotional, and it's establishing his name, exploring the width and depth of God's character. And each chapter is going to focus on the attribute of God's character. And the devotional series, it actually is going to take you into the Hebrew language of these scriptures. Throughout the devotional, Rebecca challenges the reader to identify how God has manifested these attributes, as well to journal about their experience and discoveries. She's done this also in English and Spanish. So if you have any friends, I know we have ladies that are in Spain. We have some other ladies in Portugal, ladies here in the US, ladies in South America. If English is your first, or English is your second language and Spanish is your first language, then yay, Rebecca, she's taking care of you. She's been studying the Hebraic roots of her faith for more than 20 years. And her multicultural background and bilingualism has afforded her the opportunity to appreciate and embrace the global body of Messiah and Israel. She works with her congregation very closely. She's the praise and worship leader there. She provides translation in English and Spanish. She's also served as a teacher there. Ladies, she's traveling with interviews. She's traveling as conferences and speaking and all the things. And yay, Rebecca, I could go on and on. I know you're currently working on your doctorate degree in theology. Welcome to the portion. Oh, you're muted. Did I mute you by accident? Maybe.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you guys today.
This is exciting. We just do this every once in a while because we have some amazing women in here, and there's, almost, I think we're just at 2,000 right now in this group worldwide. And it's nice to kind of get to know who's in here so that y'all can reach out to Rebecca and say, hey, and you know her now. Can you just tell us, how did you come into this Torah walk? How did this happen for you?
So over 20 years ago, a family member of ours came to the realization or came to know that we had Jewish roots in our family, just in our heritage. And so he started to explore that. And when he brought the information to us, the Hebraic roots was kind of getting started back then. It wasn't as well known, but it was kind of getting started. And so we just started diving in. And for me, in particular, it was as if a light bulb went off and everything started to make sense. And those mental lagoons of things in the Bible that didn't kind of click for me all started clicking. And it just was like everything was like opened up. I was a super huge fan of Superbook. Maybe I'm aging myself right there with that statement, but I was a super fan of Superbook. So I loved everything in the Old Testament and the stories and this and that. So when I started learning about the Hebraic roots, it just was like, you know, everything just kind of opened up for me.
Did
So
you feel like all the pieces started to connect? And you're like, oh, that's what that really means.
that
Oh,
makes
that's
sense.
amazing. Amazing. And you know what, Rebecca, one of the things I know that a lot of women, including myself, were like, sometimes you come into this movement and you're like, oh, I wish, Father, why didn't you reveal this to me earlier? But you know what a great foundation we had being in the faith in church our whole lives. Then we had the foundation. Now with this, we added the frosting. Now we get to dig deeper because it was a good foundation to be able to connect the dots.
100%, 100%. I mean, I received Jesus into my life. And I remember when I did it, I was about 4 or 5 in Sunday school. And I was that annoying kid in Sunday school that raised a hand and everything was like, well, somebody else other than Rebecca answer the question. I was that kid.
Yeah.
So I remember being about 4 or 5, something like that, and being in Sunday school and the teacher actually talking about receiving Jesus into your heart. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I haven't done that. I was born in the church. That's what you did on Sundays. That, you know, that was just part of who I was, but I had not physically and like kind of intentionally done that part. And I remember going, oh, and immediately did it at that moment. I received Jesus into my heart. I didn't receive Yeshua. I didn't know Yeshua at that moment. So for me, it was just a deeper understanding of who this Jesus was, of who, you know, of it added to it. It didn't detract, it added to my, you know.
Thank you. That is so good. Thank you. And I know that you've been on a journey. I mean, it has not been smooth sailing the whole way.
No, not at all. It has not been. When you start to determine, when you start to, the thing about the Hebraic roots is you start to see the things that although we had a good foundation, there were some things that we were taught that just weren't right. You know, as in anything, you're learning. It's a learning process. And when you learn, you do as much as you can with what you know at the moment. And then once you learn better, you do better, you know? So there's a lot of grace involved. But when you realize that you've learned something that wasn't necessarily correct, you have to make the decision to make changes. And sometimes those changes confront tradition. Those changes confront just a lot of things. It causes you to change the way you interact with people, the foods you eat, you know, all of these things that make us who we are and how we interact in community. And sometimes that transition and that change is not well received, or it's met with a little pushback. And so, yeah, it hasn't been smooth sailing, but it's definitely been worth it.
Absolutely. Do you have some words of encouragement? We have a lot of women on here who are new. They're new in this walk and they're making some changes in their calendar. They're making some changes in the things that they eat. They're saying, I want to do it. If Yeshua did it this way, if Jesus did it this way, that's what I want to do. If he didn't do it, I don't want to do it. And that's the way I describe it. I'm like, hey, this is the thing. No, I'm not trying to be Jewish. What I'm trying to be is, if he did it, I want to do it. If he didn't do it, I don't want to do it. And we're just in on the process. I feel like it's more received if I told everybody I was vegan and I changed to become a vegan, and then they would receive that better than it's funny. Yeah. So do you have any words of encouragement for those women who are just getting started and they're like, oh my, this is their first Passover, and they're telling families that they're on a, you know, maybe they're not doing Easter, but they're doing Passover, or maybe they're trying to bridge the gap somehow, and they're confused. Do you have a word for them?
Sure. One of the things that I have learned is when you first start in this, there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of change and there's a lot of things, and we go through these stages, you know, and it's literally just learning to walk again. So if you look at a baby who's learning to walk, they get up, they fall, they make mistakes, they do all this it's the same exact process. And one of the things that I've come to the conclusion recently is I was so excited when I found out that I had Jewish blood. Because I was like, because for me personally, I love the Old Testament, all that kind of stuff so much that I was like, I am like physically connected to that, you know, and how cool. And then I came to the realization, it doesn't matter because it doesn't change anything anyway. God still loves me. God still chose me. God still wants me. God still has a purpose for my life. That's just an added bonus. But it's like the frosting or the cherry on top. It's not necessary. It's wonderful. It's nice, but it's not necessary. So when you're coming into the faith, and you're learning all of these things, you have to remember that you're walking, and that none of us has the entire answer. The Jews don't have the entire answer. The Christians don't have nobody does. It's a learning process that the Father takes you through. And the thing that I've come to realize is that this process is just an excuse for God to connect with me on a personal
love
level.
that.
It's just an excuse. Whatever your ministry is, whatever it is that you do, whatever your experiences are, it's just an excuse for God to get closer to you. And so you have to show yourself. I think we're really good at showing grace to others, but not so much with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, just, give yourself some grace. Give yourself, I'm actually doing my master's in theology. And so
okay.
I've been studying the Hebraic roots for over 20 years. That doesn't mean I speak Hebrew. That would be my third language. It doesn't mean I don't have anybody to really practice with, but I like to be fluent and stuff. I would love to be. It's one of my goals, but it's not even about that. It's about just getting to know God more, which is kind of what inspired the books that I wrote, is to give kids this foundation. I, for one, the book is written for you to give a foundation for your child. I, for one, have found it to be a struggle, because I love the Bible and I love things so much that at one point I kind of thought that my son would just kind of get it through osmosis. Like it would just be an extension of me, like it would just happen. And then I've come to realize he is his own person with his own experiences, and he has to come to know God for himself. My parents were in the church. I mean, my first birthday was in Venezuela. My parents were missionaries, so I've been traveling for a very long time. This has been my jam for forever. That's all I've known. But when my parents divorced when I was 16, short time after that, I came to the realization that I cannot go through life on the curtails of my parents' faith forever. I had to come to know God for myself. I knew who he was. I knew what he had done, all these things, but I had to know it for who was he for me personally? When I had struggles, when I had problems, who was I going to go to? And that's where like my real journey kind of took off, and so I see that with our children. We want them, we want to give them the best foundation. We want to give them. So that's why I think that praying these kinds of prayers over them is so important, because when you're a new time mom, you're wondering if they have their 10 fingers, their 10 toes, can they see, can they hear, all these kind of physical things. Are they okay? Did they drink enough milk? Or they, I heard them cry, what happened, kind of a thing. And you don't realize that that's the easy part.
Yes.
They make you think that it's the hard part, the not sleeping, the everything. That's the easy part. Because as they grow older, their needs and the prayer needs that you have for them grow and change and just get more intense. And so it's really important to have a good foundation to help them on that journey, because once they leave your doors, nobody's going to care for them the way you care for them.
No.
And we do a disservice to our children when we kind of like shelter them too much, because life is not kind and life is not fair always. And life, it's hard and it's difficult, and every journey is individual. And so giving them a base, giving them a foundation is so important.
That is so good. And we're going to talk about some stuff about studying the word, just our personal experience of that. But would you do us a favor? Could you just read us like one of the weeks, like out of your book, like the 40 days for the kids? Start there. Let's start there first, and then you can read us the grown-up one. Because once you guys hear this, you're going to go, oh, I want one of these. I want to read that over me. But she does have one for big girls. So
here we go.
Can you just show the book? Lift it up and show us.
Let me show you. So this is the English version. And all of the illustration, everything has been done in-house. My brother is an amazing artist, and he helped me draw a lot of the stuff that's going on in here. And then we have the weeks. So if you'll just call out a number of a week, I will read that week for you.
22.
22? Okay. The prayer focus for the week is faith. And the words of blessing are, Shalom, little one. How awe-inspiring is it to know that the mighty one of Israel watches over you and I. I have placed my trust in him and pray that you follow in my example. To have faith is not only to trust in him, but to follow his commandments as well. It is being able to walk in obedience according to his word. Truly trusting in him is surrendering what you think is best for what he knows is best for you. May your faith never waver, but grow each day as you learn more of his word. May these words of the psalm be your motto. I have chosen the way of faithfulness. I have set my heart on your laws. Your faith will carry you where your understanding cannot, and help you in this journey we call life. May your faith be strengthened like the cedar planted by the waters. As you encounter different situations in your life, may you apply what you learn in his word to bring about the outcome that brings blessings to your life from your heavenly Father. And then here it says, you'll see here, it says, baby, did you know? And that just gives you a little tidbit of what's physically happening in the baby that week. And it says, your senses have developed by now, and you respond when the womb is pressed.
Oh,
So
that's
when you
beautiful.
interact with the baby, he knows it. And then this section here says, from my heart to yours. For me, it was really important. The same way that God spoke to so many women in the Bible when they were going to have children, when they were getting ready to give birth, and he spoke about their destiny and their purpose in life and everything. I was like, who better for God to speak to than the one who's carrying the child? And
Right.
so I left this space that when you're in your prayer time and you're praying over this, if God speaks something to you, you can write it down. And once this book is completed, for me, it was like a legacy kind of thing. Once this book is completed and they graduate high school or graduate college, get married, or gonna have the baby of their own, you can say, this is what God was saying to me when I was pregnant with you. So it's something that can be handed down. I got questions a lot about whether I was going to make it an ebook or something when I was publishing. And I said, no, because this is something you have to actually physically write. You have to touch, it's something to be passed down and handed off.
Yeah, a super, super high quality book. And I know for me, like my daughter, when I was pregnant, I wish I had had this. I mean, that's 30 years ago. I wrote her a letter, and I put in an envelope for her 18th birthday to give to her on her 18th birthday. But this is a beautiful gift to wrap up. It's kind of funny. You can also give it to, I've seen ladies give things like this to their sons on their wedding, and they gave the like apron strings in a gift box to the wife. Like, I'm cutting the apron strings. There you go. But it's beautiful. Like for 18, something to pass on. Would you read? You also have another area in there.
Yeah. So the other side says getting to know your creator. And so this kind of brings that other element into it. And it has the Hebrew name of God, which that week it would be El Gibor. And the English translation would be mighty God or warrior God. And it gives you a Bible verse that kind of points to that, which says, the Lord your God, it's Zephaniah 3:17. The Lord your God is among you, a mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with joy. He will calm you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. And then in this section, it says growing in your faith. And it's just kind of like a little blurb to kind of expand on the whole thing. And it says, despite how much we may like to think that we are more than capable of handling life on our own, the truth is we need a savior, a warrior to fight on our behalf when we face adversity. How blessed are we that God fights on our behalf. Imagine the peace that the Israelites felt when Moses declared, do not be afraid, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you and shall hold your peace. And it says, read Exodus 14. So it kind of gives you like stuff to do and kind of dig deeper into the word. And in essence, this is like a springboard. This is like not an end all be all kind of thing, but it is definitely to get you thinking, to get you praying, to get you on a path, to kind of give you directions to say, okay, this is what I need to be praying for. Instead of just the 10 fingers and toes, there's other areas that I want to kind of, encourage my baby. So
I just can't stand how much I love this. I know I got some of them. Now they're going to be the gift. Every time I find out someone is expecting, it's like, okay, guess what you get. Now for us big girls are like, I kind of would like a devotion like this. You've started this process. Do you have your first one done? And I've asked if you would just pick one and read for us like one and show us like kind of what it looks like on the inside.
So this one is a little bit different. It was definitely meant to be something that if you wanted to do it with a group of friends, or it would be like a lot more portable. There's an ebook version of this one because I know some people like digital planning and like good notes and all that stuff, which I love, and you want to be able to do it that way. But it gives you the name of God, and it gives you the devotional, and then it gives you a place to write down. And one of the questions that I was asked was, why didn't I put days to it, like 10 days of, the way I did it with the other book? And the reason why I didn't is because for me, this is a deeper thing than just getting to know something in your head. For me, if you're reading and learning about God's attributes, sometimes you need to sit with things for a little while for God to be able to speak to you and deal with you in areas of your life. And so I didn't want any kind of pressure on the book. I wanted it to just be something where you take it at your pace and you kind of deal with it. I've had moments in my life. There was a time in my life where it was several months where God the phrase was, be still and know. And it was physically God telling me, don't do anything. And it was the worst time because I wanted to be doing stuff, but I had to not do anything because God was dealing with me on certain things. And it wasn't until he released me from that I could kind of go on, And so because I've had that experience, I'm like, okay, well, getting to know it, it has a section that says God's sign language, and sign meaning like a sign that you would see on the street where he's pointing you in a direction and letting you know stuff. And then a prayer prompt at the end as well for you to pray. So let me see here. So the last one is El Rahum, El Malay Rahamim, which means the God of compassion, God full of mercy. Mm-hmm. And what it says there is, when you think of the word compassion, what image comes to mind? Is it the small, tender smile of Mother Teresa as she's lovingly tended to the poor and suffering in the slums of Calcutta, India? Perhaps it's the image of a nurse who has forgone her own needs to tend to those of the sick and dying in a hospital bed. Whatever image it is, how humbling is it to realize that those expressions of sincere compassion and mercy pale in comparison with the compassion and mercy God bestows upon us each morning. However, the comfort that knowledge brings loses a little of its luster when we realize the same compassion that woke us up today is the same one that woke up the person that has maligned us in some way. Mm-hmm. We love to hear about how loving God is, how willing he is to forgive us if we just come to him, and how merciful he is with us even when our deeds deserve a just punishment. It's an entirely different story when we realize all that we are offered in God's love is also offered to those we deem unjust or unworthy because of our own perceptions or hurts. There's a perfect depiction of this dichotomy we hold in our minds that is found in scripture. It's the story of Jonah. You know the story. We all learned about it in Sunday school. Jonah and the big scary fish. Remember when he refused to take the word God instructed him to give to the people of Nineveh? The people of Nineveh were known for their ruthlessness. In fact, there are historical artifacts that archaeologists have unearthed that depict battles, impalings, and the boastings of spoilings of war. One inscription found to be that of Sennacherib states, its inhabitants, young and old, I did not spare, and with their corpses, I fill the streets of the city. With an inscription like that, it's no wonder that Jonah had serious reservations about going to that pagan kingdom to pronounce God's impending judgment upon them. I would have probably felt the same way. In fact, from that piece of information alone, most of us would agree that Jonah would agree with Jonah and justify his actions. Some may have even been willing to go as far as to pay his fare for the boat to Tarshish. Nonetheless, the story of Jonah is not called the story of Nineveh. Although Jonah tries to make the story about these ungodly people that are beyond reach, the book is called Jonah for a reason. God's focus wasn't on Nineveh. He was focused on Jonah's hardened heart. Through a series of events, God gets to the heart of the matter and helps Jonah see that he has mistakenly and undeservedly taken on the role of God. He foolishly feels qualified to determine who is worthy of mercy and who is not. In fact, the word goes as far as to say that Jonah resents God for the mercy he bestows on this nation. Interestingly enough, the book of Jonah is not tied up in a pretty little package with a perfect bow of resolution. It ends with God asking Jonah a question. In the same way, I'll leave you with this set of questions to ponder as you dwell on the realization of how vast God's mercy and compassion extends. Are you harboring a Jonah-like anger towards someone that has hurt you in some way? Oh. Have you mistakenly taken on the role of God and deemed someone unworthy of receiving God's mercy and compassion? Isn't it time to be free of the resentment and rest in God's mercy and compassion, allowing him to heal all of you so that you can become the fullness of all he destined you to be? And then at the end, it says, how have you experienced this attribute of God's character in your life? Journal about it and use it as a way to remember the different ways God has made his presence known to you in your life. The exercise of remembering is a meaningful way to encourage, strengthen, and uplift ourselves as we journey through life. And then the next part, it says God's sign language. God's mercy and compassion manifest themselves in so many different ways. Since we are created in his image and likeness, we have plenty of examples of how to express this facet of God's character towards other. And the prayer prompt says, help me to see your mercy towards me so I can reflect that same mercy to others.
Oh, that is so good. I can't wait to get mine. I'm excited. That is so good. I love that. I wrote in here, I wrote on Facebook, this is not the story of Nineveh, but it's the story of Jonah. And sorry about that, my daughter. The power of that hit me like in my gut. Like this is not the story of the Ruta Cafe. This is the story of this is not the story of my argument with so and so, or this is not the story of my issue with a family member. This is a time, it seems like this time of year, things just start between people. It just seems like the atmosphere, there's an energy that happens. And it's not about that. This is about you. This is about I love it. He's using this as an excuse to get closer to you, as a reason to get close to you, as a situation to be closer to you, just like he did with him. I know your heart is studying the word. I know that that's your jam. I know that's kind of your soapbox right now. We were talking about that before we started. Can you just kind of share a little bit about studying the word and why that's such a passion to you?
I think it's a passion for me because I take the time out. Like I'm getting my master's in theology right now. I'm taking the time out. I was in a class one day and we were talking about preaching and the purpose of preaching and all this kind of stuff. And I said, the thing is that we take the time out. I was talking to the class and I said, we take the time out to sit here for an hour, 2 hours to discuss the reasonings behind and the this and the that, whatever. But when you're getting somebody for a short period of time, you have to make it understandable for them, because they're going to take whatever little bit you give and go out into the world and hopefully try to apply that to their life. So for me, studying the word, it has to make sense to me. It has to make sense to me. And the images that I have of Yeshua saying, let the little ones come to me. And these verses that say, we have to be like children in our understanding and our faith and coming to God. It has to be It has to be understood by us if we're teachers, if we're the people that are giving it, so that we can give it to those who need it, which is the people, around us. And so one of the huge things is we miss out so much because we have translations. I thank God that we have translations, because then we wouldn't have anything unless we spoke Hebrew,
Right.
But we do miss out a lot. And if we take things at just face value, there's such a richness in the word of God. I was speaking to my son the other day because he was discussing something on the Bible. And I said, Isaac, the thing you have to understand is that the Bible is a living thing. No other book is like it, which means that transcends the age, that transcends culture, that transcends all these other things. It's a living thing. When God had something written way back then, he knew what we were going to be living in this moment. And there has to be a way to apply it to our lives today for it to make sense, and to make it so that we can walk in the way that God wants us to walk for a purpose today. So for me, it's a big thing to understand. I was talking to my cousin this week and I said, I'm going to be on the Ruta Cafe. And she, I was talking about language and Hebrew and all that stuff. Costa Rican, my mother's Costa Rican, my father's Puerto Rican. I was born in Brooklyn, so I have a little bit of everything, right? I'm the international mutt, whatever. But Costa Ricans are very well known for expressions and idioms and this kind of things, and they will come up with them on the fly. If you're with them for 5 minutes, they will give you a nickname, and the nickname has something to do with you. Sometimes it's bad, but I mean, they're quick with it. But one of the things I told my cousin, she's from my Costa Rican side, I said, if I said to you, me cayó la peseta, which means my quarter fell, I said, what would you understand? And she said, duh, that I got it, that I connected it. I said, yeah, you would, because in Costa Rica, that's what it means. But if I said that to somebody here in the United States, or somebody who's not Costa Rican, even if it was another Latino from a different country, if they're nice, they'll look on the floor and start helping me look for the quarter that fell.
Yeah.
And the reasoning is because in Costa Rica, back in the day when they had pay phones, you would put the quarter in and you would dial. And when the person connected the call, when the person answered the call, then the money would fall in. In the United States, it's backwards. You would put it in and it would go in, then you would call and it would connect. And if it didn't happen, then it would just spit it back out to you and you would take it and go. So the idea is, me cayó la peseta, saying, oh, I connected the idea. I connected with that thing that I was trying to say. But you wouldn't know that if you're not Costa Rican. And that's something that makes sense in our day, because of payphones and all that stuff. But the Bible is chock full of these kind of things that make those areas in the Bible that seem kind of weird and kind of like, I don't get it, so I'm just flipping the page, I'll just whatever. Make those things understood. So like I was talking to you before we started that I was teaching on the Parsha portion this past Friday, and I was saying, women have been maligned for so many centuries, thinking that they're dirty, that they're less, that they're second-class citizens, that childbirth is a yucky thing, that, all these kind of things. And this week's Torah portion was God lovingly showing women compassion and giving them a space and a time to deal with not just the fact that they're now a mother and they have this whole other being that they have to take care of, but their own bodies and their things that they're going through and these changes that just come on them without the pressures of society. But we don't see that because in our translation, it says, oh, she's unclean, and then she'll be clean. So it has this negative connotation where ill, go over there, instead of what it means is just ritually impure, ritually not ready to be in certain settings in the community, in the temple. That's all it means, is that she's set apart for something else, right, for a time. And then she's able to come back and be a part of everything. But if we don't have that kind of richness of the word and what it means, then we say, ill, stay over there. So right, for me, those are things that are so important to understand and to really take note of. When you look at the New Testament and you look at the apostles and you look at Paul and you look at all these writers and all these things, when they're talking about the Bible, they're talking about the Old Testament. The New Testament hadn't been written yet. Yeah. So whatever they're referencing, their foundation is the Old Testament. So it kind of behooves us to kind of say, oh, let me go look and see what it says over here, to kind of, there are a lot of people that say, oh, well, after Malachi, kind of just like throw it away. That's for them. That kind of went away. And now we have this new thing that started in Matthew 1. And that's so not true. It's so not true. So I could go on and on.
Girl, I'm with you, because I sat out in the driveway when bought something off of Facebook and sat with ministers and didn't at the time know they're ministers and talking about excitement about idioms, about, you understand idioms. And I always use the example, my mom would say, putting on the dog, because in the South, if you say, oh, someone's coming over for dinner, we're going to put on the dog, it meant to put out all the good stuff that I knew what to do. When she's made that, I would go put the good towels out, put the ugly towels away, put the good dishes out, set the table. I knew when she said, okay, so-and-so's coming on, it's time to put on the dog. It did not mean we were barbecuing our little doggy, but if someone didn't understand, I love that you've the same connection with the quarter drop. I mean, love it, love it, love it. I hope that Simi hears this. Our Simi in our group here, she's from Venezuela, and I love, and I know she has friends in Costa Rica. But you're doing a really good thing in Costa Rica right now. It's kind of fun. You I shared it on those of you didn't watch the portion this last week, Rebecca did our worship for us. We talked about you have a fun thing happening on Wednesday in Costa Rica.
Well, we have our Bible study, and we've been going through the Bible chapter by chapter. So we've been at this for about 9 years now, 10 years. I think we just got to the book of Matthew. And, just got there. But it's been really, really interesting to see how many connections start happening just by remembering, oh, when we studied in Haggai, or we studied in, remember, and this connects, oh, now I understand, that continuity really plays a big part. So our church is a very small church, very small congregation. And when the pandemic hit, we had a location that we were using, but they upped the rents. And then we were giving less time to use it. There were just some issues there. So we said, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. And we were shut down anyway. And then what we started meeting in homes every week. And so and then because of the pandemic, and you have to learn to roll with the punches and everything, we started doing our Bible studies. We used to do them in person. We'd get together, have coffee and everything. Now we started doing them on Zoom. And so we have our congregation that does it on Zoom here, but we have a group one was a family member of ours who kind of started seeing our stuff on Facebook. And now he has a group of, I don't know, 8 or 10 people that are coming to his house to be able, because not everybody has internet, to his house to be able to participate. And we have some people that are priests, some people that are studying to be priests in the Catholic faith. We have Jehovah's Witnesses. We have charismatic Catholics, I think they are called.
Okay.
We have Pentecostal, we have this wide gamut of just different people from different walks of faith coming together, and we make it known that we're not talking about doctrine. We're not trying to indoctrinate anybody. We're reading the text and seeing what we can learn from each other. And the system that we've been using is that each person in the group is assigned a chapter. So we kind of just go round robin. And my mother, who is one of the pastors in the church, she was the one who kind of started everything. And she will, if the person needs to, she will meet with them in person if they're here, online if they need to, and say, okay, well, what did you learn? Here's some tools, some resources. I pulled this for you, you know, to help them study, because not everybody.
Love it so much.
And then they kind of get their thing together. Some people are really afraid because they're like, I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to teach. I'm like, and I keep telling them, it's not the point of teaching. You come and you share what you learn, and it just becomes an open forum for us to be able to discuss and bring ideas. So really, you just have to be, it's like a conversation starter, really, what you're doing. And then we kind of pull in together. So that kind of helps ease people's minds. And then we get together, we kind of discuss, and it's been, I mean, phenomenal. I look forward to Wednesdays, really.
How fun. And it is all in Spanish. So for our, you know, it is all in Spanish. They have, it's fun because she shared with me that the priests and things that are coming, they can't be on camera because they don't want anyone to find out that they're there. And so it's fun. They have these undercover priests that are coming in to learn, you know, the Hebraic roots of their faith and to learn the word. Thank you, Rebecca. You know, I love, you talked about idioms. I saw Crystal over here on the chat. She said, we do in the Rooted Cafe, for those of you that are members, we do have a course. Also, we do have it in our store. I think it's $39, but it's a course that Gail Heaton did on the Hebrew idioms. So she did a bunch of Hebrew idioms in a course. You could do it at your pace. So it's kind of fun to learn some of these. You're like, oh, I never knew that's what that really meant. But you're right. You don't realize that we weren't there. You and I talked. You have to know the culture. What was happening at the time? What was the language to the people? Who were they speaking to? Were they using the idioms or the colloquialisms of the day? You have to know those things to be able to truly understand what's happening. Of course, the Holy Spirit's going to speak to you through the word, but you want to dig in, and that's what we're encouraging women here to do. And thank you. Thanks for coming in. Everyone head over to Creation of One. Tell us all the ways we can find you.
So on my socials, it's audienceofonecreations.com, and it's Audience of One Creations on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, Pinterest. I'm not great at social media, so please show me some grace. I'm trying to push stuff, you know, more as I'm able to, especially when you're a small business owner, you kind of wear many hats, and sometimes the social media hat gets put to the side for a little bit too long. Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely reach out to me. And if you do start to purchase, if or when you start to purchase any of the products that are on the site, please tag me. I would love to see and hear how it's impacting your life, how you're able to share it, you know, what you're doing with it. I would love. Here in New Jersey, I'm kind of like I told Charlie, I was a little bit like on a virtual island. I'm here by myself. So I would love to make connections and get to meet some of you and everything. That would be wonderful to make connections. So
that's awesome. If you're from that area around New Jersey, reach out to Rebecca and connect. Do you also, I know I forgot to mention, did you have one of your wreaths handy that you could show?
Yes.
So
something new that
something brand new, such high quality. Yeah.
Oh, let me see how I can get this in there.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm trying. It's backwards on my camera.
No, it's not. It's not backwards to us. You're good.
Okay. All right. So this is one of the things, the big things that, at least for me, this is personal. That's why I made it. When you have not grown up in the Hebraic roots and you have not grown up celebrating the feasts and everything, it's hard to anticipate. And when you live in a culture that celebrates certain things so big and so grand, and you want to be able to decorate, at least for us, in my mom would wait until the feast was over, Passover or whatever, and she'd go to Bed Bath and Beyond. That was her option, to see whatever little things they had and buy it kind of for next year and everything. We didn't really have choices. And so I wanted to make something that we could start decorating. There's other stuff that's coming out soon, to start decorating our homes and to kind of anticipate the feasts and to look forward to them and celebrate them. I remember back when I used to celebrate Christmas before, you know, the anticipation of waiting for it was the better part, because the day would come and go and it'd be so fast and it'd be done. Yeah. But the anticipation of waiting for it, getting together with family and everything, that was what was exciting. And so I created this wreath with these acrylic rounds. That this is like a secret compartment. Let me see if I can figure out which side it's on. Has a little screw in there, and then you unscrew it and you can put it back like that. And then, so for example, now that the Shavuot is coming and we have to count the Omer, then you would just replace this piece one with the counting of the Omer, and with an erasable marker, then you can write in the days as you anticipate, because we know we have to count the days. That's part of celebrating Shavuot, counting up to the day. So you have that one. And then for Fridays, you can have like a special Shabbat one that you can put. And then the piece one for now is just like you can have up all the time. You can hang it in your house, on your door, whatever. And then we made one also in Spanish. And what I love is that the verse that's on the bottom of both of them is from 1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 6, which is when David sends out his messengers to Nabal. And he says to him, peace be to you, peace be to your house, peace be to all that you have. And then he, explains his case. And for me, I was like, man, that is such a better thing than just saying welcome. Or, it's like when you're greeting your guests into your private space, into your home, into your sanctuary, this is what you're proclaiming over them. So that was just something, that I wanted to kind of share with others. So there's other stuff coming out, but
they're exciting. There's so much. You can tell how talented Rebecca is. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us, your heart for the word. I know that is a passion for you. There's so much more we could talk about. Maybe we'll do this again and we'll come back and talk about the music, about your worship, your heart for that. But be blessed. Thanks for hanging out with us. You guys, I am going to stop us here. But thanks, you guys. If you've loved this, I want to hear. Would you chat? Would you say hi to Rebecca? Put in the chat here on the portion. I put the link on how to get the link to her website so you can go see all things Rebecca for Audience of One Creation. Sorry, I said that wrong last time. But we just love you guys. Thank you. And we will see you on Friday in the portion.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.